Today we continue to listen Silavanta Sutta. One late afternoon, the Venerable Makutika emerged from his seclusion, approached the Venerable Sariputra, and exchanged greetings. It is customary for disciples of the Buddha, when they meet, then Makutika Thera asked, Silavata Uso Sariputra Vikuna Katame Dhamma Yoniso Manasikatapa. Friend Sariputra, what are the things that virtuous bhikkhu, virtuous meditator should carefully attend to? He asked this question not because he did not know the answer, but because he wanted posterity to respect the teaching of the Buddha. People tended to give more respect and importance to teaching known to have been discussed by Mahasavaka, great disciple of the Buddha. So Venerable Makutika and Venerable Sariputra, as foremost disciple, sometimes purposely enter into dialogues of question and answer for the benefits of future generation. So we are very fortunate to learn Silavanta Sutta. This question and answer is by Venerable Makutika and Venerable Sariputra, but everything is based on the teaching of the Buddha. So Venerable Makutika asked this question, and Venerable Sariputra answer. Silavata Uso Gutika Bhikkhuna. Pinju Padane Kanda Nisato Dukato Rogato Kandato Salato Agato Abadato Prato Palogato Sunyato Anatato Yoniso Manasikatapa. That is the answer how to practice meditation, what we have to observe, what we need to know, the phenomena we observe. So question and answer between Venerable Sariputra and Venerable Makutika. Can you follow me? Look at your paper. Silavata Uso Sariputra Bhikkhuna Gatame Dhamma Yoniso Manasikatapa. Silavata Uso Sariputra Bhikkhuna Gatame Dhamma Yoniso Manasikatapa. Answer. Silavata Uso Gutika Bhikkhuna Pinjupada Nekhanda Nejato Dukkhato Rogato Kandato Salato Agato Abadato Barato Palogato Sunyato Anatato Yoniso Manasikatapa. Recite together. Silavata Usa Sariputta Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yoniso Manasika Dabba. 3 times. Silavata Usa Sariputta Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yoniso Manasika Dabba. Silavata Usa Sariputta Bhikkhuna Katame Dhamma Yonisa Manasika Dabba. Answer. Silavata Usa Kutika Bhikkhuna Pinjupada Nekhanda Nejado Dukkado Rogado Gandhado Sanlado Agado Abadado Prado Palogado Sunyado Anadado Yoniso Manasika Dabba. Translation, follow me. Friends Sariputta, what are the things that a virtuous bhikkhu should carefully attend to? Friend Kustika, a virtuous bhikkhu should carefully attend to the 5 aggregates subject to clinging as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as humor, as death, as misery, as affliction, as alien, as dissolution, as empty, as non-self. Question and answer, read together. Friends Sariputta, what are the things that a virtuous bhikkhu should carefully attend to? Friend Kutika should carefully attend to the 5 aggregates subject to clinging as impermanent, as a disease, as humor, as death, as misery, as affliction, as alien, as dissolution, as empty, as non-self. So 11 ways you need to observe the 5 aggregates subject to clinging or mind and matter as a nature, dukkha, anatta. There is the main 3 characteristics as impermanent, as suffering, as non-self. In other ways, you can see if you are more diligent and if you have more paramis. Pinchu Padanekanda. 5 aggregates subject to clinging. In some translation, this phrase is translated simply as 5 aggregates of clinging. Because there is a difference, we should understand the correct meaning of these 2 phrases. There are 2 things to be examined here. Kanda, the aggregates, and Upadana, clinging. And the aggregates that are subject to clinging, Upadana Kanda, means aggregates that are objects of clinging or aggregates that can become objects of clinging. Now you all are observing these 5 aggregates of clinging. But we should first understand what clinging is. Clinging means firmly holding on to something. When clinging to something, you take hold of it and do not let it go. And Buddha teach that clinging is of two kinds. Clinging is a mental state, and with that mental state, we cling to objects. We see something beautiful. When something is beautiful, we desire it, we want to get it, and we have strong craving to possess it. In that case, we cling to the object by strong craving. In other words, things are the object of strong desire, or things can be the object of strong desire, strong craving, or clinging. Wrong view can also cause clinging to objects. Sometimes we have wrong views about objects, wrong view about mind and matter. We think that our mind and matter are permanent. We think that mind and matter we possess as self or soul. Or we may have wrong view about ourselves. We may think we have a self or we have a soul, or we may take being to be self or soul. And when we apply these kinds of wrong view to objects, we are clinging to them. So we can cling to an object with strong craving, or we can cling to an object with wrong view, tanha and ditthi. Anything that we can cling to, either with strong craving or wrong view, is called upadana and aggregates subject to clinging. What are the things we can cling to? We can cling to the things, they are the things we see, or we hear, or we smell, or we taste, or we touch, or we think of. In other words, we cling to everything in the world. We can cling to everything in the world either by wrong view or by strong craving. When we say, "It is I who is talking," "It is I who is sitting," "It is I who is listening," "It is I who is walking," "It is I who is seeing, hearing," etc. When we say like this, we are clinging by wrong view. But when we say this is mine, this is my eyes, this is my ear, this is my nose, this is my leg, this is my body, and we are clinging by craving. The things we cling to are technically called aggregates, khandha. They are called aggregates kanda because they are understood in groups. A group here does not mean a group of different things. It means a group of aspects of the things. Take, for example, a visible object. There are 28 kinds of matter, and that visible object is just one unit of matter. That one unit of matter is not a group of many things. It is only one, yet it is called an aggregate. How can we call that an aggregate? It is because one unit of matter can be of the past, of the future, or of the present. With a grouping together of these three aspects of time, that one unit of matter becomes an aggregate khanda, rupa khanda. And then feeling is a mental state. Feeling is just one mental state, one mental factors. But that one mental factor is also called an aggregate because feeling can be of the past, feeling can of the future, and feeling can of the present. It also can be internal, and feeling can be also external. And feeling can be gross, and feeling can be subtle, and feeling can be inferior, and feeling can be superior. Because of many varying aspects that it possesses, feeling is called an aggregate within a khanda. So you have seen that just one unit of matter is called an aggregate, and just one mental state is called an aggregate. Even one unit of matter is called an aggregate. Technically, they each are called an aggregate. There are 5 such aggregates taught in Buddhism. As you all meditators, vipassana meditators, you should be familiar with these aggregates and with their names because you are observing these 5 aggregates of clinging day and night, non-stop. For the time being, let us put aside the subject of clinging and let us continue with the 5 aggregates. Rupa Khanda, form aggregates. Vedana Khanda, feeling aggregates. Sanya Khanda, perception aggregates. Sankara Khanda, volitional formation aggregates. Vijnana Khanda, consciousness aggregates. Can you follow me? Rupa Khanda, form aggregates. Vedana Khanda, feeling aggregates. Sanya Khanda, perception aggregates. Sankara Khanda, volitional formation aggregates. Vijnana Khanda, consciousness aggregates. So 5 Khanda, that is ordinary Khanda. They are different. Khanda and Upadana Khanda, they are different. When we practice meditation, we have to observe Upadana Khanda, that is mundane. So we prefer to call the first one meta aggregates rather than form aggregates, because every unit of meta is called meta aggregates. Rupa, meta is something that changes with adverse condition like heat, cold, hunger, and so on. That is Rupa. Rupatiti Rupan is a change. It can be found outside in the mountains, in trees, in living beings, and all material phenomena. A second khanda is Vedana khanda. Meditators all know what the Vedana feeling aggregates is. The feeling of pleasure, Sukha Vedana, the feeling of displeasure, Dukkha Vedana, and neutral feeling, Upekkha Vedana. You are observing. These feelings are called the feeling aggregates. Although feeling is only one mental factor, it is called an aggregate because it has a division into past, present, future, inferior, superior, gross, subtle, etc. Many other aspects. The third one is Sinyakanda perception aggregates. Perception is a mental state that makes marks of an object. Whenever we encounter a new object, whenever we experience a new object, this mental state makes a mark of that object in our mind. So when we experience the object again, we will recognize what it is. It is what is meant here by perception. This, this function of perception is compared to a carpenter marking pieces of wood when he is building something. The marks indicate which part is to be put where, which part is to be cut off, which is to be remained, and so on. Making marks like this is for his recognition later when he needs the various pieces of wood. Just so when your mind makes a mark of something new to you, it is for your future recognition. This perception is just one mental state because perception has division into past, present, future, gross, subtle, superior, inferior, and so on. So it is called a perception aggregate, senior khanda. The next aggregate, volitional formation aggregates, is somewhat difficult to understand. According to the teaching, there are 52 mental states. Feeling is one mental factor, perception is another mental factor. The remaining 50 mental states are collectively called volitional formation aggregates. Because this group is headed by a mental factor called volition or chetana. The word formation is the translation of the Pali words sankara. Sankara can mean both producer and product. Something that produces other things is called sankara, and that which it produces or which is conditioned by it is also called sankara. So sankara has at least two meanings, the maker and that which is made. In this sankara kanda, in the context of volitional formation aggregates, it means maker. It makes something. Here we must understand the word sankara in its active sense. So during the practice of meditation, that sankara kanda, sankara uparana kanda, you can capture many times. But in other contexts, such as the saying sabbe sankara anicca, all sankara, all psychophysical phenomena, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. All sankaras are impermanent. That means all minor matter, all psychophysical phenomena. The word sankara means all things that are conditioned, all things that are made. So here the meaning is quite different from sankara meaning, those that make, and which is translated as formation. Maybe there is no other words to adequately convey the meaning carried by the original Pali words. So because of this, sometimes we try to use Pali words, original Pali, because it is difficult to translate. So the 15 mental states are collectively called Sankara, aggregates, volitional formation aggregates. In addition to volition or chetana, Sankara, mindfulness is also Sankara. Understanding is Sankara, Pinya. Lobha, attachment is Sankara. Dosa, hatred is Sankara. And delusion, moha is also Sankara. There are many Sankaras. All of these are collectively called Sankara. Because they do something. For instance, when we see something, a kind of mental activities that make seeing complete takes place. This kind of mental activity is called Sankara. The last aggregate is the consciousness aggregates. Consciousness is awareness of the object. Here it must be understood in its technical sense, not as it is understood popularly. In the teaching of the Buddha, consciousness means just a mere awareness of the object. It is always accompanied by feeling, perception, and other factors from the volitional formation aggregates. So these are the five aggregates: Rupakanda, meta aggregates, Vedana feeling aggregates, Sinyakanda perception aggregates, Sinkarakanda volitional formation aggregates, and Vijnanakanda consciousness aggregates. When they are objects of clinging, they are called aggregates of clinging, aggregates subject to clinging, or aggregates objects of clinging. Now you know the five aggregates and the five aggregates of clinging. The yogi should know this because it is a way how to practice meditation correctly. Our bodhisattva practice meditation under the body tree, observing the five aggregates of clinging, upadana kanda. And by the practice, you see the arising and disappearing of the upadana kanda, five aggregates of clinging, and finally, vipassana stages pass by, and all the megapala pass by. And finally, he attained enlightenment with Sabhinyuta Jnana. So now all meditators are practicing vipassana meditation. You try to be mindful of the upadana kanda, five aggregates subject to clinging at the present moment. So if one person asks you, what are you doing? You have to say, practicing meditation, what object do you note? I am observing the five aggregates subject to clinging. I am observing upadana kanda. So when you practice meditation, you have to make an effort to be mindful of that aggregates, five aggregates of clinging. And the effort you make is right effort. With right effort, you try to be mindful of the five aggregates of clinging, and you are mindful of that aggregates. That means your mind hits the object. Your mind hitting the object, your mind hitting the five aggregates subject to clinging is called right mindfulness. When that right mindfulness becomes stronger, you come down and your mind as well goes into the five aggregates of clinging. Five aggregates subject to clinging, and stay there. So going to the mind and matter or five aggregate upadana khanda, staying there for a certain period of time is called right concentration. So the concentration is one factor, and this keep your mind and is concomitant on the namarupa, mind and metta or upadana khanda. In Pali it is short upadana khanda, but you need to understand upadana khanda means five aggregate subject to clinging. So your mind does not let them be scattered and does not let them go to other objects. So that is the nature of concentration. In Vipassana, that is momentary concentration. When momentary concentration gets strengthened, you gain the kinds of samadhi concentration, and your mind becomes calm, and the mental hindrances are subdued. When mental hindrances are subdued, and your mind becomes still, and you begin to see the mind and matter or the five aggregates subject to clinging clearly, more clearly than before. Now yogis start to distinguish between mind and matter. When you know seeing, you are mindful of the seeing, and you can distinguish the eyes from the visible form. What you are capturing is the eye sensitivity. With the eye, you see it, and the visible form strike to enter into the avenue of eye sensitivity. You know from which I see the object, and now you capture the eye sensitivity and visible form. They are rupa, or five aggregate subject to clinging. If you cannot capture very well, you may cling to your eyes, you may cling to the visible form, and also you can capture the eye seeing consciousness. Now when your momentary concentration getting strengthened, you can capture namarupa or upadana khanda, eye sensitivity, visible form as rupa, physical phenomena, and seeing consciousness as mental phenomena, nama. And also you hear many things, and you note hearing, and concentration strengthen, and you can capture the eardrums and sound wave as physical, or rupa, or upadana khanda, or hearing consciousness as mental, nama. Smelling, especially in the dining hall or other places, you smell it, and you capture the nose sensitivity and odor as physical, rupa, and smelling consciousness as mental, nama. When eating very clear, you concentrate very well, eating, and tongue sensitivity and taste, they are physical, and the tongue consciousness is mental nama. When touching many things, many touching points, you capture body and tangible object as rupa, physical, and touching consciousness as mental nama. So in this way, yogi become aware of mind and metta or upadana khandha separately, not as a whole, not as a solid unit, but as separate. You can distinguish mind from metta. Here the range of touching is very extensive because it can take place at any parts of your body. So the awareness of bodily behavior like bending, stretching, moving, going, lifting, dropping, they are considered the awareness of touching. So when you note bending your arms, you capture tension, movement, pressure. Yes, they are physical, they are rupa, and touching consciousness and awareness of the touching are mental, nama. You can distinguish separately. Going, walking, you're really mindful and you will come to be aware of tension, movements, and pressure that are physical, that are rupa, and touching consciousness and awareness of the touching, which are mental, nama, or upadana khandha. If you're not really mindful, or if your vipassana knowledge not very strong, you think I am walking, I am sitting, I am breathing, etc. When you know the rising of the abdomen, you will become aware of movement, tension. They are physical, rupa, and body consciousness and awareness of the touching is mental. And when you know the falling of the abdomen, the looseness and contraction are physical, rupa, and the body consciousness and awareness of touching, awareness of looseness or contraction are mental. So when you practice walking meditation, you can be aware of many elements distinctively. Walking meditation is very important. When lifting, you may be aware of lightness that, that represent the fire elements. And when you move it forward, you may be aware of motion or tension or pressure. That is air elements. When you drop your foot down, you may be aware of heaviness. That is water elements. And when you press it down, you can be aware of hardness. that is earth elements. So in this way, every time you note any bodily behavior, you can distinguish between nama and rupa. You can distinguish between the non-cognitive body and the cognitive mind. Nama and rupa, you can distinguish due to your concentrations and mindfulness stronger. In this way, you can see mind and body separately. And Buddha compared the mind and body to a certain kinds of gem called Veluria gem. He compared mind and body to a certain kinds of gem with a string put through it. And some people wear a ring with this kinds of gem. For example, a string, blue, yellow, red, or white in color, is put through the Veluria bead. Then a man with good eyesight can see the string separately from the gem. In the same way, a diligent meditator can clearly see the mind separately from the body. It's very relaxed. Not only one solid body, it is mind and matter. In this simile, the body is compared to the gem, the mind is compared to the string. When you note the rising and falling of the abdomen, you can distinctively see the noting mind separately from the abdomen. You can distinguish mind and matter. This example is very good because it helps reflect your own experience. And you keep on noting. Some yogis say 1 month retreat is very short. They want to practice more and more. The more you practice, the more you discover, and the more you realize. Of course, the more happiness will come. So yogi need to be patient and diligently practice, and concentration develop. Yogi noting the present phenomena concurrently becomes aware of cause and effect. In the beginning, it takes some effort to note the bending or stretching of the arms. Every stretching, bending, you cannot be mindful, but now you can be aware of every bending and every stretching. The whole day we stretch and bend many times. Always be mindful to capture the kinds of bending and stretching. In due course of time, yogi will see desire to bend. You capture the desire, intention to stretch, arise. You can capture. Then you are supposed to note it before you actually bend. Wanted to bend, wanted to bend. In this way, you will realize that it is the desire to bend or desire to stretch that generates the actions of bending or actions of stretching. Indeed, our voluntary actions are all about the interactions of mind and matter. In other words, they are all about cause and effect, but have nothing to do with self or soul. If we do not practice meditation, you bend and you stretch your fingers, and you cannot find the desire to bend. It is because you are not trained in the development of mindfulness and concentration. But amazingly, most of the yogi practice daily life, practice at home you are alone, it is nothing to worry, and you try to be mindful of every activities. It is very good. And if you have very good training in daily life, daily mindfulness, you can capture every intention and every desire. It is so developing. So if you want to be aware of it, the mind that generates the voluntary action, so we need to put effort in the development of our mindfulness. Now you can be aware of the mind, that the mind as the cause of all your voluntary actions. Moreover, with the development of mindfulness, with the development of your focusing power, you will realize the eye sensitivity and visible objects, rupa, as necessary condition for seeing consciousness. And eardrums and sound wave are necessary condition for hearing, and so on. In this way, meditator will be well aware of the causal relationship between mind and matter. And when your knowledge into causality matures, you will see mental or physical phenomena start to arise, and they come to an end, indicating that they are arising and vanishing. Then you will happen to contemplate that all the phenomena are impermanent. In this way, there arises the insight knowledge into impermanence. In this regard, the commentary mentioned three things for us to learn. What the impermanence are, what the characteristics of impermanence is, or what the contemplations of impermanence is. So impermanence are 5 aggregates. If you want to see impermanence, you have to watch continuously the 5 aggregates. Psychophysical phenomena, Namarupa, are classified into 5 aggregates. They are arising and vanishing constantly. So those 5 aggregates or Namarupa or mind and matter are impermanent. Can you follow me? Impermanence are 5 aggregates of Namarupa. Impermanence are 5 aggregates of Namarupa. Then what is the characteristic of impermanence? The characteristic of impermanence is disappearance after having arisen. It is a characteristic of impermanence. So to see the nature, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, suffering, and non-self nature of the 5 aggregates of clinging or upadana khandha or namarupa, mind and matter, you are watching the 5 aggregates of clinging or mind and matter continuously. So we will continue next day. We have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the 6 senses, may all yogis discover the 5 aggregates subject to clinging as impermanent, suffering, and non-self, etc. May all yogis be liberated from suffering. May all meditators realize the real peace in the very near future.